who are listening by a tin and a can, um, you know, tin can and a string. You know what I mean. Good morning to the Power Hour, folks. Glad to be here with you this morning. One half of the team. This is Mark Kelly Tyler. Oh, there he is. I was going to introduce myself because he was having computer issues, and that's what happens in the world of YouTube and Skype and Zoom. What would a day be? But hey, let me just say this. That's really a great excuse, and it's like you're on there like with your boss and it's uh, 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 computer had computer issues. My Wi-Fi went down. Whose boss can't relate to that now? It's the ultimate excuse.
Absolutely.
What's up, Bishop Dwayne Royster?
What's going on there, the Reverend Dr. Mark Kelly Tyler? I am okay. Just had some computer. Periodically my computer does this thing where it resets itself, and I forgot my password. So I had to go through the process of trying to get the new passwords and get into the system. So
we had memory issues, not necessarily computer issues.
Well, I don't know why the computer resets itself. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What happened that you felt compelled to reset yourself last night? I don't know.
That's what they have to do. They have to stay updated. They knew that today was going to be a big news day.
Oh, man, this is today a big news day.
Yeah, I mean, just as, before we get into it, but just as an aside, when the Trump organization being indicted as like a criminal organization is not the biggest news story of the day. Yeah, that's when like, whoa, that's not the big story? That's not what you all are talking about today? No, we have to deal with Trump, like, I don't know, another day. So, but before we get into that, the glue that holds this show together is none other than the queen herself, Kawesa.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing okay. Sorry, I was like wiping down the studio and wiping my hands and everything. I was like, let me go back to the mic here.
And you know what? Look, you missed Kawesa being here. When did you? Well, I guess it was yesterday. But like today, your voice is a lot better. You're a little bit more encouraged. I feel you feeling like a 3-day weekend coming up. I can get there. That's very good. Very good. How was your ride in today?
Ride was smooth. It was easy. It did rain yesterday evening, at least, in my neck of the woods. And so there were a couple little wet patches here and there. But, like, by the time I got out this morning, it was so warm. Like, I feel like most of those wet patches probably evaporated. Not as warm, though, as yesterday. So
That's probably a good thing.
It was definitely a good thing. Like, it wasn't as bad. It was still muggy, but I made it through, powered through. And yeah, so it really wasn't too bad though, coming in. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that. We appreciate that.
Of course.
And one more day and then 3-day weekend. Check you out.
Well, let me just say that, getting caught in the rain in your car is one thing. Getting caught in a thunderstorm on a motorcycle is another thing.
Did you get caught in a thunderstorm on your motorcycle?
Oh, yeah. It's all good, though.
Yeah. Were you able to get your gear out in time?
Didn't have it.
Oh.
So just kind of, got to learn everything about a particular gas station. Just
wow.
And thunderstorms, man, they're like brutal. You can be 25 miles away from home and it's like perfect weather. Then you get back and it's like, ooh, that doesn't look good.
It was hot as the dickens the day we brought my bike down from Pennsylvania to Washington. I was like, it is really hot out here. It was brutal.
Yeah. That's how it was yesterday. So, folks, we're back on YouTube. Please spread the word. Glad to see Nikki O'Tim leading their crew of YouTubers. Sure that they will be weighing in. Also on Facebook Live. Tawanda said, I'm hearing John P. Key's song, I Made It Out. Lord. Woo, yes, free at last.
So Quasha thought it was funny. I said, how does the Dickens? Yes, it's an old expression. Yes.
Well, he is grandfather. Yeah, and so Dr. Bill Cosby is out of prison, and you talk about news that just literally seemingly came out of nowhere.
Hmm.
Yesterday, he was sitting with fellow incarcerated people, and the news came. So he was just as shocked as they were that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned his conviction. Not they never weighed in on whether he was guilty or innocent of sexual assault. They just simply said that the way it went down was wrong. Um, and we're going to get into that on today with a couple of people who are very acquainted with this story. First, we're going to hear from Denise Clay of the Philadelphia Sunday Sun in just a moment. In just a moment, we're going to bring her on. And then after the break, we're going to get the legal opinion from the former Chief Public Defender of Philadelphia, Kiera Bradford Gray, who was also in Montgomery County before coming to Philadelphia, and to get her thoughts as well from a legal standpoint about what went down. But Denise Clay covered the trial. I mean, like literally, she was there in Norristown every day. And so had a bird's eye view of what was going on. And so Denise Clay, Philadelphia Sunday Sun, Denise Clay Murray.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I should know that. I was there.
I was going to say, you married us,
Oh my God, my bad. Sorry, Chris Pratt. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning. How are you?
Ah, man, we're all right. I mean, first of all, yesterday, I mean, all right, where were you? Had or can you at least kind of just tell us like how you got the news, and if you were drinking, did you spit it out? I mean, what was going on yesterday? Because I know you very well about and your passion around this case and reporting it on it. Talk to me just about yesterday and receiving the news.
Well, it kind of just popped up. I was doing some editing, and the AP advisory popped up and said that, Bill Cosby's conviction has been overturned, and he was going to be released from via the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. But I think that a lot of people needed to see what this didn't say. While the story said, yeah, he was tried incorrectly, and the case shouldn't have gone down this way, and no, Montgomery County can't retry him, nowhere in any of the stories on this did it say that he was innocent. And the reason why that's an important distinction to make is because the reason why we were in trial with Bill Cosby in the first place was because of the deposition that he gave that, basically detailed his fondness for giving women drugs prior to having sex with them. So while he is released and he is back home in Elkins Park and able to live out his life in his home, knowing that the folks in Montgomery County can never try him again, we need to be very clear here. He was not found innocent. He was released because something was wrong with how he was tried.
Right, it was technical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, well, and about that. So he made an arrangement, and I think this is where I'm, the way I kind of view this is that I think the PA Supreme Court, in spite of what Bill Cosby said, that they were right, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, in the sense that if you make a deal, and I think their position is that what Bruce Castor did in going against what his predecessor said, what it was that if you give this deposition, we will not try you. That once that deal was made, it's it's kind of like watching Donald Trump go undo everything that Obama did, right? Where is the trust then in the system if a person cannot trust the system?
And that's true. You have to be able, that a big part of the criminal justice system is the deal-making process.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make a deal like that, you have to abide by it. But the question that everyone should be asking themselves was how this deal got made in the first place. Because you have basically, said to someone, we are giving you a deal that allows you to basically confess to another crime, and we're not going to charge you with that crime. And while, like I said, while I understand and while a lot of people understand the whole aspect of how the law was not properly followed in this case, I ended up speaking to a lot of women who were survivors of sexual assault. Mm-hmm. And while they recognize the technicality and why that's important, for a lot of them, how people reacted to this decision has been triggering. And in many cases, like I posted something on my Facebook page, which, I didn't mean to take a position one way or the other, but in light of this case, it felt important enough for me to say, and that is that when you go to a party or a bar or you're out, hanging with your friends and you have a drink and you sit that drink down, don't pick it back up because it's no longer your drink. And one of the things that people kept saying to me yesterday as we were talking about this trial was how this might very well empower a lot of people who are already, singing the praises of Bill Cosby and thinking that he should never have been tried for reasons ranging from he was trying to buy NBC and folks were trying to bring down a good black man to, who says these women are telling the truth. There's this concern that a lot of people who were already thinking that way are going to be feeling empowered. And because of that, women, and I heard this more than once, women do not feel safe now.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that I misspoke. I meant to say Kevin Steele was the person who broke the arrangement that Bruce Castor, the former DA, had done. Bishop, I know you want to get in here. This is, again, this is just like from Philadelphia perspective, this story probably means more here than it does anywhere else. And I know it may be hard for people to believe, but because of the role and the place that Bill Cosby has always held in Philadelphia in particular, his hometown, folk are deeply divided.
Yeah, I'm wrestling with this, and I think Denise hit a couple pieces that for a lot of folk. I mean, the whole notion of what's been happening, the Me Too movement has been happening for a very long time, and the first major player that they went after in all this, even though they were going after him before this, was Bill Cosby, and there was a lot of questions about race, and I think Denise rightly brought that up. But at the same time, I do think, and as a girl dad, because I have two daughters, I want predators like him off the street. I don't want my daughters, to feel and to feel unsafe as they go out. So, this is deeply troubling on many angles. And I guess the other thing that we're not talking about right now is that Kevin Steele didn't have to bring this case. He didn't have to prosecute Bill Cosby. He chose to do it, I think, in an effort to make a name for himself, probably to parlay something in for higher office down the road. And we haven't talked about the fact that case cost Montgomery County millions of dollars. The extra security, all the things that went into that, all the media and everything that went into that. The reality was Bruce Castor had told him at one point, you can't try this case because I already made this deal with this guy. And he chose to do it anyway. And so now, it leaves Montgomery County open again and the DA's office open, I think, to some sort of legal recourse on the part of Cosby and others. I mean, I could be wrong about that. I'm not a lawyer. We can ask Kira about that later. But, I just think that, first of all, Castor was wrong for making the deal the way that he did. And because he was afraid to try the Constant case himself. And Now this just opens up a whole can of worms that I can imagine a bunch of other people now trying to jump through hoops to say, I cut a deal and they didn't honor the deal. And this is just going to cause a whole backlog in the court system.
Well, you bring up two very important points, Bishop. One, this case was tried twice, which meant all of the expenses that Montgomery County had to incur, they had to incur them twice. And this was not a cheap trial. I was there for all of the first trial and parts of the second. Every day was, to be kind, a media circus. When Entertainment Tonight has set up a truck out in front of the courthouse, that lets you know how this is all going to go down. And that happened not once but twice in this case. Millions of dollars got spent in terms of housing a jury because you couldn't necessarily pick a jury from Montgomery County. It had to be brought in from somewhere else, and the first time it was Pittsburgh. You had to make sure that security was tight. I've been covering trials for years, and I never had to go through some of the things that I had to go through to cover that trial. Namely, I couldn't even bring my phone into the courtroom because if I brought my phone into the courtroom and I pulled it out, even just to like adjust it in my pocket, I could have been thrown out for the entire trial because you had people in there who were taking pictures and doing videotape and other things you were not supposed to do during a trial. So there was a lot that Montgomery County had to shoulder in terms of cost, plus the gentleman that actually tried Cosby, that was part of his campaign rhetoric to get elected to the office of district attorney in the first place. So basically, he felt he had to do this because it was a campaign. It was something that he had campaigned on.
Wow. So, well, look, Denise, this is, again, this is all breaking right now and still so much to unpack. We certainly can't do it in one segment or even a full hour. Folk, you can read Denise's full thoughts, which I know are going to be, it's going to really be a great article in the Philadelphia Sunday Sun. Follow her online as well. And Denise, we'll be in touch. And if as things continue to develop, get you back on as well so we can keep exploring this important conversation.
Okay, well, thank you.
All right. Hey, folks, we got to take a quick break. It's the Power Hour. Kiera Bradford Gray is on the line, and we will talk to her about the legal aspect of this in just a moment.
Hey, WURD family, did you hear? It's official. The Colorectal Cancer Alliance just announced the new age for colon cancer screenings has been officially lowered to age 45 for everyone. If you are 45 or older, it's time to get screened. Go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner to register for your free at-home screening test. Did you know colon cancer is largely preventable with on-time screening? And there's a 90% survival rate when caught early. African Americans are 20% more likely to get colon cancer and about 40% more likely to die from it than most other groups. So for the next 3 months, you can go to WURDradio.com and click on the Go to Know banner for your free at-home screening test. A screening navigator will contact you to ask a few questions and help you get screened. It's that simple. Again, just go to WURDradio.com, click on the Go to Know banner, and fill out the form to request your free at-home screening test. Go to Know today.
Clark Roofing Company has over 30 years of quality roofing experience, providing exceptional customer service, honesty, and professionalism. Clark Roofing is a second-generation master roofer, installing top-quality roofing systems for commercial and residential properties across the tri-state area. For fast, dependable service, call 215-365-ROOF. That's 215-365-7663.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler. We're here Monday through Fridays from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news, happenings around Philadelphia, and, of course, our opinion. And we have plenty of those.
I have no opinion about the Bill Cosby case.
Man, first of all, this is the one morning The
Oh
one
my
morning
God.
where I'm like, I wish we had a 2-hour show.
Oh
It
man.
was the one morning. I'm like, oh man, there was just so much going on. And
Yeah.
look, I just want to say one thing. Nicole Hannah Jones. I don't know if we won't have time to get to this today because of Cosby, but I want to acknowledge this, especially for a black woman. University of North Carolina voted to give her tenure yesterday. I just want to say that in the news and to the hearing of the people, because I think that's very important that we celebrate what happened. I mean, that they did it. I'm not celebrating the process of what they did, but we just need to lift that up.
That and she is the creator of the 1619 Project, who was initially denied tenure at UNC, and yeah, that's a
Politically
great.
motivated. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't know about the whole pushback on critical race theory. I mean, we knew about it, but we didn't know how big it was. That's what they were really, scared of. So let's see what happens at UNC. So we want to continue this conversation about the Kaz, who is at home this morning in Elkins Park. Wow. He
Might be
didn't
listening
expect
to
that. Nah. Eating some Jello pudding or something. So I want to hear, we need to know kind of like the legal part of this. Denise did a great job at kind of giving us the background about the trial and the atmosphere and the impact that this has on, women in general, especially around those who have been victims of sexual assault, sexual abuse. Kiera Bradford Gray knows Montgomery County's legal system well. Good morning, Kiera. Welcome back.
Ah, man. Good morning, friends. How you doing?
Good to hear your voice.
Yeah. So first of all, were you just stunned on yesterday?
Of course, I've got to put it in the legal context. No, I wasn't. At the time that they had began prosecuting this case using evidence that was sealed under the manner by which the contractual obligation to seal it because of the promise that was made, was now being retracted, I knew that there was legal issues in terms of due process. And when we say due process, we mean a fundamentally fair process that everyone can rely on. And in this case, when you have a prosecutor who asks for a statement that will not be used against him and therefore entices one to give up their Fifth Amendment right of self-incrimination based on the word that I will not use this against you. And I should explain why Bruce Castor did this, because I understand what he tried to do. Not sticking up for Bruce Castor in his own general character, but in this instance, Bruce Castor looked at the evidence that he had without Bill Cosby's own statements and said there was going to be a hard time prosecuting this case with the evidence that I have, given not only is it just her word against his, but given a lot of the actions of her after the alleged crime, and I have to say alleged now because right now he's not guilty of anything. After the alleged crime, where she still continued to see him, she still continued to be in relationship with him, this would have been a hard case without him saying, I did this, or I partook into this. And so what he tried to do in terms of a civil suit, he wanted to make sure that there was no way that he can say, I take the fifth. And so she would be able to get a large lump sum, an award of money. So he wanted to solidify what he did on the record. And in order to do that, he said to him, if you let us know what you did as part of the negotiations for a civil settlement, I will not use this against you. Fast forward, Kevin Steele won on the promise to prosecute. So therefore, there's a lot of zealousness when you use these things as campaign issues. And so you may do things that should not be done in the realm of upholding due process of the law. So we look at what Kevin Steele did, fast forwarding a few, some decades later, and Kevin Steele still may not have felt that he had the evidence without Bill Cosby's word to prosecute this case, because if so, he could have prosecuted without those statements, but that case wouldn't have been as strong without the admittance of Bill Cosby as to what happened. And so using those words, once Bill Cosby was given a contractual obligation or a contract that he would not use, it really violated the very essence fundamentally of what fundamental fairness is in the law procedurally, and that we have to be able to rely on.
So, so I get that. But then you have the deposition itself, right? And you have the words that are in there, and it's, where he almost like brags about all the things that he did, in the sense, even including like drugging folk. I don't know. I mean, this whole thing just is, I understand exactly what you're saying. And that's why I said legally, I get it. And legally, I'm not upset with the PA Supreme Court because I don't think they had much choice in the matter, right? But then there's also, there's also all these allegations of what women have said. It's not just Andrea Constand. That's what people I think sometimes, forget. There are like just dozens of stories like this going back to the 1960s where people have been saying this. Is there any chance, so they can't retry him on this case? We know that.
No, they can't. Right.
But are there other cases that you're aware of, or other potential cases, I should say, where there were other allegations that women brought forward that they may just try again? You think like the DA in Montgomery County may just want to keep him in court for the rest of his life? He's 83 years old.
Right. I think that would be a mistake to use the justice system in that way. I mean, we're talking about behavior that happened decades ago, and Bill Cosby, while he's been tried in the court of moral opinion, so remember, there was damage to him in his reputation here, which, if he did these things, that's a rightful conclusion that he should not be glorified anymore for being the perfect person that he wanted to portray. However, when you're using the criminal justice system, you are saying that punitively, I need to punish you for the things you've done. Now, the thing is that they've known about these incidents for decades now. And so if you can't wait until you're ready or till you feel like it to now say, I need to put you in jail, because there are other factors that you should be thinking about. Is the person a predator? Is the person dangerous? Is the person rehabilitated? I haven't heard about Bill Cosby doing anything to anyone beyond the time frame that we're talking about. We're talking about, I don't know, we're talking about the 70s, 80s. I'm not really sure which time frame that all of these things happened, but I know we're talking about a long time ago. When you're talking about rehabilitation, Bill Cosby now is 83. How dangerous is he? How wrong is he? That's a different question. But the court of moral opinion is different than the court of law. And so when you're trying to use the court of law, you need to use it wisely for reasons that we want to this system to be used, and that is to get dangerous people out of the community, because we don't want to be, in community jail because this predator is walking around. But when you don't have those factors, you have to think about what's the pros and cons of me doing this? Am I doing this, for political reasons, or am I doing this because I believe this person is dangerous and I need to use the weight of the law? Now, the pursuit of what they were looking for to really expose Cosby for who he was, that was achieved. All the victims that came forth bravely said what they said. That was achieved. They still got that victory for him. This man is no longer the person that we used to believe and think about when you thought about Bill Cosby. So there's a lot of reputable damage here, and I think sometimes those are the victories that we will have to accept, instead of always wanting a harsh, punitive piece to it when it doesn't belong.
Yeah. What are you gonna say, Bishop?
I mean, this whole thing is a mess. And honestly, that's the best way to define it. It is a mess. And there are so many things that I see wrong about this, in addition to the fact that they are not prosecuting white men who have done this for a very long time the same way with this zealous prosecution that they have done for Bill Cosby. High-profile white men in the entertainment industry who've been doing this, hadn't been doing this for decades. They have not prosecuted them with the same level of zealousness. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, what do you say?
They did get him. They did prosecute Harvey Weinstein. That was after Bill's, but they did prosecute him.
Right, but I mean, there's others that have come that, have been, put out there as well. Haven't heard
Mhm.
about their situations. I mean, I don't think the two of them are the only ones in Hollywood that were doing this. And I'm troubled by that piece, in addition to the fact that this has been going on for such a long time. Numbers of women that were raped, that were drugged, that were taken advantage of in these circumstances. You know, it just, the whole thing is just, this reeks of problems every which direction you turn to.
Yeah.
And to that, Kier, to that point, I mean, so you kind of alluded to this earlier when you're talking about understanding why Bruce Castor, the former Montgomery County DA, who got Bill Cosby to give the deposition in the first place.
Got him to tell us what he did within the deposition.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so got him to talk. And, but how difficult is it? You know, we're talking about like women who bring allegations against men. And again, it's like a lot of these cases, it's your word against, his word. And I know every case is not the same. Everybody who says it is not telling the truth, but a lot of people are. And it tends to, it has to be frustrating on the criminal justice side with so many of these stories where you can't prove it and people just walk away doing it over and over and kind of like, putting their, middle finger up to the system.
So, I think that we've come a little bit further with allegations of rape and how we take those and how we handle those. But you have to remember, everything has a balance, because someone says it doesn't automatically make them, credible. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but honestly, everyone deserves to be tried, in terms of their actions and words. When we're talking about all of the things, all of the totality of the circumstances, you have to look at the behavior, one, that led up to the allegation, and two, the behavior afterwards. If you have women who continue to have relationship with Bill Cosby, not by force, not by threat of compulsion, but because they want to engage with him after the action has occurred, those things have to be factored in as to what the overall posture of the evidence will be. How credible will the evidence be, or how will the jury have to take that in consideration in terms of what they believe their own actions would be if they were raped, right? Would I still continue to be in relationship with the person that I say raped me or violated me so bad? And so those things are also a part of the case in the factual circumstances as well. But, there's a gray area here. And I have to say, doing cases, where allegations of sexual assault have come up, I've seen two extremes. One is where it's really, really bad, or two, it's where I feel really sorry for the person. There seems to be no in between here. And sometimes people who are accused of rape don't really have a lot of recourse, because once you're accused, I don't care if you're found innocent, that sticks with you. And so these things have to be taken, seriously from both sides, because it really is not fair to raise that allegation and then not hold the person to the same standard of testing their story through a trial process where they are under rigorous questioning. Because you have to make sure that once you label someone a sex offender, which is a brand that will go through them even beyond the grave, that you are sure that what you're doing is accurate.
Yeah, look, let's just say this story is more complicated, not only because it's an issue of a question of sexual assault, or whether that happened or not, but people are right to point out that yes, it is also about race, as you said, Bishop, a moment ago, and you can't separate that from the story. It is a question of how the justice system is often more punitive to black men than it is to white men. As Gary pointed out in the comments, what about Trump? Yep. And so then it's also about the whataboutism, though, right? So as Sheila pointed out, which is, okay, that may be true, but does that absolve this person? So there's so many layers on top of this that are so far removed from just the very story at the center of this to begin with, right? Yeah. And I think that it will forever be controversial because of that, and because it's Bill Cosby, for God's sake. And, I just say, look, bro, you played fast and loose. And at a certain point, if you're going around drugging people by your own admission, this old Spanish Fly skit sounds a lot different today in the wake of all of this, where he talked about that as one of his jokes, that, if this is the way you kind of lived, at a certain point, you're exposing yourself for something potential like this. And I guess people can take some solace if you think he's guilty, that he did do 2 years that are never coming back.
Yeah, but also, Reverend, think about all the other stuff that happened to him. We're not just talking about the incarceration seemed to be the easiest part for him. He always had good spirits. He was in good relationships with the inmates there. He was actually revered in jail. But it's when he got out was where he has to face all the hostility, the conversation about his reputation. That is not going away. So, we have to think about totally, this man was someone who was on a pedestal in many of the black, amongst many people in the black community. Now, he is looked at as someone not worthy of that. That has to be crushing as well. So,
I'm not feeling, I don't have any tears for him for that, Kier. We're going to play the pound cake speech in a minute. And I have no tears for Bill Cosby, being knocked off a pedestal because he thought he was above us.
Well, hey, I know he lived above us in terms of his wealth. And I don't know how that, factored into what he believed he could do or had access to, or he was invincible. But he found out he's not invincible. And I do think, I'm a firm believer, and you are too, that, everything comes full circle. I really do want to make sure, though, when we use this justice system, and I always have to look at this justice system from a racial equity lens, too. And when we use it in the manner that we would use it across the board. And that is something that I wish that we would push for. It's not about whataboutism. It is about using the system when we can and making the discretion of when we're not going to use the system against someone. Those things should never happen. If you use it for one, and the phrase that I keep using this past COVID, time period is keep that same energy. When you use it against one for certain actions and behaviors and deem those criminal, then keep that same energy when you recognize it in others. And if you're not willing to do it for others, what are you giving them that you're not giving someone from a racial lens? And I do think that we should be concerned about that, because that's what happens to us all the time when we're talking about who labels our behaviors worthy of coming into this system and who says these behaviors are not worthy of coming into these systems. So we should keep an eye on that and demand more fairness.
All right. Well, Kier, thank you so much. We're way over time this morning, but I think we're getting a little grace here at the station because of the story. Former Chief Public Defender in the city of Philadelphia, now working in private practice. And Kier, thank you. Of course, we're going to have you back on again and again and again. And thanks for giving us a balanced view of this story on today. Keep that same energy, Kier.
Thanks so much. You guys have a good day.
All right, we'll be right back on the other side of the break, folks, with the infamous pound cake speech. I want you to hear who you defended. We'll be right back.
Stage Door, focusing on arts and culture in and around Philadelphia. Hosted by Tiffany Bacon and co-moderated by Jeffrey Page of the Philadelphia Theater Company. Part of The Source, Fridays at noon, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app, or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. Sponsored by New Voices sponsor Comcast, NBC Universal, and Pico.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting WURDradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media. Now, a WURD weather update. Here's NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
Steamy conditions this morning, storms this afternoon, and temperatures climbing into the upper 80s. 88 degrees the high temperature. Storms could produce damaging wind and downpours capable of flash flooding. The shower chance stays with us on Friday. The temperatures will be cooler, a high of 78 degrees. Then mainly cloudy on Saturday with a chance of a shower, but looking good for the 4th of July. Lots of sunshine, low humidity, and 82 degrees. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Bill Henley.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler, continuing our conversation about Bill Cosby being released from prison yesterday.
And, you know, depending on what side you are, look, there's not much middle ground here.
Mm-hmm.
People are either like fired up like, heck yeah, or people are like, you know, that's terrible. I mean, you know, I wish we had time to bring on the folk from WAR, Women Against Rape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because, again, I think it is also about the, you know, so, okay, he's out, but the message that it sends to women, the way we react to the fact that he's out. You know what I mean? Because there's some people who never believe any accusation. Because let's be honest, there's some brothers who just think like every woman wants them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, waitress at the diner flashes a smile like she does at everybody. And, you know, we know guys who walk away convinced.
That's right.
That was a nonverbal cue that she wants you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, calm down. Calm down. I don't think that you're reading that right. And so, you know, that this is absolutely real. And so I think to over celebrate, and again, I understand it. I do. I get it at a gut level because
it's like OJ getting off, right? Everybody knew OJ was guilty, but everybody was just happy he beat the system, right? That was really what it came down to. You know, I never forget white folk being so upset. I can't believe you're celebrating that they think he's innocent. You all think he's innocent. We're like, nobody thinks he's innocent. It's just that he beat the system. That was really what it came down to.
Yep. I mean, and so even this, he was married, she went there willingly. Folks, married men have raped their wives before. Okay?
Right.
Can we agree on that?
That's right.
So the fact that, I'm just simply saying, I get what you're saying, but let us, you know, look, man. Bill, he's a grown man. He could defend himself. He don't need me to help him. And for all of his loss and whatever, Bill is still wealthy.
Absolutely.
And it ain't like he gonna start rolling back through the hood because he wasn't never in the hood. In fact, cue the pound cake speech. I want you to remember, this is who we're out here like, you know, defending. This is what he believes about the majority of the black community. Go right ahead.
In the old days, you couldn't hook his school because behind every drawn shade was an eye. And before your mother got off the bus into the house, she knew exactly where you had gone, who had gone into the house. Parents don't know that today. I'm talking about these people who cry when their son is standing there in an orange suit. Where were you when he was 2? Where were you when he was 12? Where were you when he was 18? And how come you don't know he had a pistol? These are not political criminals. These are people going around stealing Coca-Cola. People getting shot in the back of the head over a piece of pound cake. And then we all run out and we're outraged. Oh, the cop shouldn't have shot him. What the hell was he doing with the pound cake in his hand? Brown versus the Board of Education is no longer the white person's problem. We've got to take the neighborhood back. We've got to go in there. It's right around the corner. It's standing on the corner. It can't speak English. It doesn't want to speak English. I can't even talk the way these people talk. Why you ain't where you is? Go where? I don't know who these people are. And I blamed the kid until I heard the mother talk. And then I heard the father talk. This is all in the house. Everybody knows it's important to speak English, except these knuckleheads. You can't land a plane with why you ain't where. You can't be a doctor with that kind of crap coming out of your mouth. Why can't you hit the streets? Why can't you clean it out yourself? It's our time now, ladies and gentlemen. It is our time. And I have good news for you. It's not about money. It's about you doing something that ordinarily we do. Get in somebody else's business. It's time for you to not accept this language that these people are speaking, which will take them nowhere. What the hell good is Brown versus the Board of Education if nobody wants it?
All right, Kwesi.
That just reminded me of Eric Adams, the mayoral candidate in New York City, who was teaching people how to go through his kid's house, how to go through the kid's bedroom and toss it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just reminiscent of that for me for a moment.
Yeah, so this was a speech that had a lot of there were a lot of white folk there, cheering on, and it doesn't know how to speak. It. Children on the corner have become it. It's in an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't know how to speak. Well, you ended up in an orange jumpsuit and you speak perfectly. The kid
got a PhD. Earned PhD.
EDD.
Oh, it's an EDD. Okay. But he earned it. Still in an orange jumpsuit.
My point, right? So what you failed to forget. What you failed to remember back then was that the criminal justice system was not punishing us disproportionately because of our language, because of the way we dress, because of anything else, but it was because, I don't know, it's racist. And now you're saying the exact same thing on the other side of it, right? It's like, well, this is racist. You can't do that. Yeah, it is racist what they did to you. I agree with that. I do. I actually agree with that. It's wrong for them to have brought the deposition out when they said they weren't. But bro, that's what they do to black folk. But somehow you forgot that.
Sometimes when you think you're more green than you are black, and you think your green will supersede your black, then you begin to think a little bit differently in the world, and it's not a good idea.
Kwesi says it's actually a burgundy jumpsuit. Not orange.
It was not orange. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah,
but I do think that there has gotten to a point like where he got so above. I mean, his roots. I got to give Raphael credit here, right? Bill Cosby was from North Philly. He and my dad actually went to because he started at a Central, but he ain't finished there. He finished at Germantown, and they were not there at the same time. But he grew up in the hood, and I think that there was something that happened at some point, I guess, during those days in the 60s, 70s when he became the Mr. It black guy in Hollywood and was doing all those things, that somehow or another he forgot that regardless of how high you go, at some point somebody's going to try to bring you down. And, I've run across black folk like this where their green becomes more important than the fact that they're black. And sometimes they realize their green is not going to, it's not that they're black will always supersede their green.
Right. They don't shoot our young people in the streets or even our older people in the streets because of the educational level, because of how much money they have, because of what they're driving. They shoot them because they're black and they can get away with it, sir. I hope you remember that, and now that you use this 2-year experience to somehow highlight that, not use it as a personal tour to talk about what the system did to you. But I think that's too much to ask from the Kaz. I'm done, bro.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for being here with us on the Power Hour. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. to bring you the latest in news happenings in Philadelphia and, of course, our opinions, which we have plenty of those. Thank you, Dr. Tyler, for doing what you do. Thank you, Denise Clay Murray, for joining us this morning, as well as Kara Bradford Gray. I got to get all those names correct there, Kara Bradford Gray. Thank you to everybody that's listening to us on the air, through the app, through Facebook, through YouTube. Welcome back, YouTube. Everybody that's checking us out via Alexa. Hey, Alexa, turn on WURD Radio. Stay tuned now for Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. And listen, family, do us a favor. Go out, change the damn world. Because if you don't, nobody else will. Peace.
Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head, just in case I